So I've had it on my heart for several years to share this story, and I want to share it for people who are struggling and struggling severely. People who are battling depression. Maybe they don't even understand what they're battling, but they go to bed in tears and they wake up in tears. They don't want to face the day, and they feel like they can't continue living in this way. And so I wanted to share to bring hope to those people. So the story comes from my last pregnancy. It was my second pregnancy. I had already faced a medical condition during pregnancy where your pelvis separates and it affects your ability to walk. So it was my second time facing that reality. Basically, I had to walk with a walking stick, but I couldn't, maybe you can go from the couch to the bathroom. You can't walk far. If I went out, I had to use a wheelchair, but even that was very difficult because my pain was worse if I didn't have my feet elevated. So basically, I needed to be in a reclining chair all day, every day. And I had horrible pain during pregnancy. I also found that I was severely anemic in the beginning of my pregnancy. I would later, over a year down the road, find out that was because I had a bleeding stomach tumor that was undiagnosed, but I had severe exhaustion. And I also had something called prenatal depression. A lot of women suffer postpartum depression. This was different. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it's what I had till it was over. Unfortunately, after my daughter was born, the depression began to lift and I could think more clearly and properly. But during my pregnancy, my emotions were horrendous. I thought that I was a leech draining the life out of everyone I knew. I thought everybody was against me. Everybody thought bad of me. They're all talking behind my back. None of this was true, but this is the narrative that kept playing over in my head. So it was an extremely difficult time. So my story comes from basically every weekend I had the chance to get out. So once a week I had the chance to get out. When my husband was off work, I had my daughter with me who I wasn't able to look after myself during the week, which was also hard. And my weekly outing was that we would go and pick up sushi, and then we'd go across the street. My husband would bring my reclining chair and I could sit and eat sushi and watch my daughter play at the playground. And that was something I looked forward to. But I began to realize that the things I looked forward to were burdensome to other people and becoming tedious and tiring, and that I was holding the people I loved back from being able to live their life, and never mind even being able to join in their life. I felt, I sometimes describe myself as a piece of furniture, just a chair in a room watching life happen, but I couldn't join life. It took me years to actually say out loud, I felt like a dog chained in the yard. Day in, day out, I sat in the yard under a tree, reclined by myself in a horrifying pit. So when I was able to tell that one day that my outing was not fun anymore for my family, I just got really upset, embarrassed, angry, all those emotions, but mostly angry. And I grabbed the keys and I said, I'm going by myself. So I got in my car to drive to get sushi by myself, which was difficult for me. And while I was driving, I kept changing the radio station, trying to find an angry song, because I just wanted to rage and vent all my anger and hurt. And I couldn't even find an angry song. And I remember just saying, God, you won't even give me an angry song. That's all I want right now. It's an angry song. And I really wanted a way to express all those emotions that I had and all that pain. There was a part of me that wanted to just put the pedal to the metal and just drive into a car or drive into a pole. But I knew that I can't do that with a life inside of me who I loved so furiously. I mean, she really got me through. I kept my eyes on her throughout that really hard pregnancy. So I got to the sushi parking lot. I'm still flicking the radios, and on came Rachel Platten's song, The Fight Song. And I know that might be cheesy, but it was a new song then, so it was the first time I heard it. And God knew what I needed, because that song actually really spoke to me, impacted me, and it was as if God was saying, you're not done yet. Your story doesn't end here. I still have a purpose for you. And so I just sat, listened to that song with tears rolling down my face. Kind of pulled myself together and said, okay, I can do this. I can go into this restaurant and order sushi. So did that, got back in the car, drove to the river. And because I couldn't walk far, I literally hobbled with my stick to the first available place, which wasn't a bench. It was just some dry grass in front of the river that I sat down in, right on the dry grass. And I prayed and I sought God. And this is the poem that I wrote from that time. So I wanted to share it with you. It says, "The earth was rough and the grass was dry, but the flowers bloomed and the bees came by. There I was glad for the joy they found, for I was sad on that dry ground. And a bee sting would have not alarmed when my heart was knowing greater harm. So I breathed in slow, I had prayers to spill, since my tears already had overfilled. Cursed is he who trusts in flesh, my heart was speaking, and I knew that death. But there is no fault in God, I said, he's blameless. I came wanting there to rage, or break in spite, or prove that I'm right. I'll drive me in this ground, I thought, they'll pity me when I'm found. But it's not for them I live and breathe, it is not man I aim to please, nor can they save me, or relieve my pain, when to the dust I cleave. God has been good, he has been kind, he doesn't deserve these sins I have in mind. For him I rise and won't despise my life, or turn against my kin in strife. Self-assertion here will fail, disowning friends when faith is frail. And what am I but needy, poor, to cast off need like I had swore would surely drive me in this ground? Imperfect helpers there would sound their cries, for faulty flesh does care, they would hate to find me there. The weak will raise their hands to seek for help from fellow sinners meek. And sometimes helpers hurt, but then it's only God who lifts from dirt." So that was me coming to terms with the fact that people did love me. People did care about me. My feelings and my thoughts told me otherwise, but it wasn't true. There was a part of me that wanted to disappear, maybe just to drive away and stay in a hotel and scare everyone I knew so they would realize how badly I was hurting and suffering. But I had to realize that that would break them. That would sin. I would sin against them if I did that. And that God was the only one who could get me through this trial in my life. And that I had to live for him through the pain, through the trial, and that he would use my life to bring about his plans and his purposes. And so that's why I'm sharing this story with you. And I hope that it means something to you, and that you know that God has a purpose for your life, and your life isn't over. And he will deliver you in his time. He'll reestablish you. And he loves you. Don't forget that. Thank you for listening.